This video is sponsored by War Thunder. At just 21 years old, a man named Shane Copeland created Polymarket, a gambling website that's considered the biggest prediction market platform in the world. With a 90% market share of the industry, and around $1 billion valuation, an unlimited amount of mainstream attention and more, it's clear that Shane's creation proves he's a genius for his age. However, his innovative product didn't come without controversy. From the US government battling with him relentlessly to the FBI raiding his home, it's clear that Shane has dealt with bigger problems than the average doom-scrolling Gen Z. So how did such a young kid create such a massive business while also going to war with the biggest government in the world? To answer that, we first need to know how he got the idea to start Polymarket in the first place, which brings us to his childhood. While growing up in the Upper West Side of New York City, Shane always knew he was smart. Now, with both of his parents being college professors, him being this way was bound to happen. And his excellent grades at the Beacon School, a selective public high school in New York City, proved this even more. But while acing his assignments in his technology and coding classes, he was dealing with a problem. He couldn't pay attention in class. Even with his crippling caffeine use, his friends recalled Shane constantly being bored in school and daydreaming all day, claiming that nothing was a challenge or exciting to him. His teachers noticed this too when his grades started to slip throughout the first couple years, and as a result, put him in a special ed program for students with learning disabilities. Well, that seems like a pretty big step to take, but Shane didn't really care. What he did care about was what he was dreaming about. Making bread. You see, Shane was surrounded by wealth at the Beacon School, but didn't grow up particularly wealthy. It didn't really matter to him that he got a nearly perfect ACT score. All he could fixate on was his itch to be well off like his peers. And within his racing thoughts of becoming the next Zuck, he discovered his love of the world of entrepreneurship. The idea of making money by carving out his own path got him excited again, and he wasted no time diving into whatever side hustle he could to build some wealth. His new ventures ranged from innocently trading tech decks with YouTubers to illegally downloading music on file-sharing sites like BitTorrent. He also became well-versed in everything finance. He was a regular at the school's stock market club and also bought $150 worth of Ethereum when it first went on sale in 2014, which, by the way, if he held, would have been worth more than $1 million today. That's gotta stay. But Shane didn't want to settle for just a cool mill. No, he had his sights set on the 10-figure club. People like Mark Zuckerberg and Travis Kalanick fascinated him, and he would stop at nothing to be mentioned in the same breath as them. But realistically, becoming a billionaire at 16 years old obviously wasn't gonna happen for him unless the price of tech decks went up like 100,000%. So he did the next best thing to at least get his feet wet in the world of tech founders. He interned at a tech startup. Now, how in the hell would an anxious 16-year-old land an internship of that caliber? Well, he forced his way in. Around the time, New York City had a steaming hot up-and-coming startup, Genius, the lyric and web annotation company. Shane thought interning here would be perfect, as he had a near encyclopedic knowledge of major tech entrepreneurs he could contribute to their site. So he started aggressively cold emailing everyone at the company, including its 3 founders. And when his pleas to provide free labor were rejected, he turned the aggression up by showing up to their office in person and attempting to convince them that he deserved a spot on their roster. I can never imagine myself at that age having the balls to bust down the doors of a company like that, but it worked out. The staff at Genius were really impressed by him, not only for his massive kahunas, but because he was clearly a smart kid. From then on, Shane wrote hundreds of annotations about tech entrepreneurs for Genius, becoming the site's top expert on anything Silicon Valley. Shit, he knew so much about that world that Shane's boss had no doubt he'd become one of them. If he chooses to become a tech entrepreneur, which seems likely, I have no doubt that we'll be seeing his name in the press. And that was the most important part of this internship for Shane. It wasn't about working at a company he liked or even writing about his favorite topic. It was the people around him that gave him confidence. He said, "I remember thinking, if I get it this way, if I get it from just showing up, I'm gonna get what I want in life." And so it was no surprise that when he was admitted to NYU as a computer science major in the fall of 2016, he dropped out after the first semester to get what he really wanted in life. But there was one problem. He didn't know how he was gonna get it. But before we learn how Shane figured that out, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made and is available now for free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices. Take command of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 major nations, ranging from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the fighter jets and main battle tanks of today. Immerse yourself in the intense combat of War Thunder, where incredibly detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, authentic sound effects, and my personal favorite, a comprehensive customization system with countless camouflages, historical markings, and decorations for all types of vehicles, including community-created ones, place you right at the helm of the most powerful war machines of our time. Join a worldwide community of over 95 million players in epic PvP battles and delve into the breathtaking experience that is War Thunder by trying it out for free using my links in the description or pinned comment. New players and players who haven't logged in for the last 6 months on PC and consoles can grab a massive bonus pack for a limited time, with multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium. Alright, back to Shane. It's obvious by now that Shane wanted to become wealthy like the tech CEOs he looked up to, but he didn't have billion-dollar ideas like Facebook or Uber. So he turned to an industry that he'd been familiar with since he was in high school: crypto. And he came in at just the right time. Crypto was on a historic tear in early 2017, right when he dropped out of NYU. He quickly capitalized on the bull run by mining Litecoin and trading meme coins like Doge, resulting in a balance in the hundreds of thousands. Well, that's gotta be the easiest money I've ever seen anyone make. But as we know by now, Shane wasn't going to settle for a measly few $100,000. Instead, he continued to be heavily involved in the world of cryptocurrency, partying with crypto bros and other up-and-coming entrepreneurs. He quickly developed a reputation of being an ultra-confident guy, someone who could will his way into anywhere, like exclusive clubs with egregiously long lines, and more importantly, other people's crypto projects. However, while working with his fellow Patagonia fleece vest brethren, he noticed a common trend with a lot of their projects. They were scams. The projects he worked on were mainly new crypto coins that were dubious at their core and never fully built out, and this irritated him a lot. Although a big motivator for him was to become wealthy like the kids at his high school, he didn't want to do so through scamming innocent people. So in 2019, he created an actual legit crypto project: Union Market, a marketplace for yield-generating digital assets. He was stoked to finally own his first company, something that could potentially take him to billionaire status. But Shane quickly learned that growing a business takes money, and he was running out of it fast. Now, he had been living off the bread he made from his crypto portfolio, a tiny amount of venture capital, and some funds from one of the crypto projects he was a part of, but it just wasn't enough. To make do, he itemized all of his possessions in a Google sheet and sold a shit to pay rent and grow Union Market. This dude was clearly dedicated to chasing his dreams. He knew he was onto something here, so much so that he was getting rid of air fryers or whatever the hell else he had left to scale it up. But the best decision Shane ever made for his vision was reading a paper. Specifically, a paper written by Robin Hanson, a George Mason University economist, titled "Shall We Vote on Values but Bet on Beliefs?" In it, George outlines a concept to restructure government decision-making by separating subjective values from objective beliefs. People would vote based on their moral values or what they want to happen, and prediction markets would be used to predict the outcomes of different policies or what people believe will happen, effectively leveraging collective intelligence to determine the most likely results of various actions. This means that rather than relying on self-interested experts, the current market odds from these prediction markets would serve as the best expert consensus, and policies would be chosen based on what the markets indicated would best achieve the desired outcomes as determined by the public's values. Shane was fascinated with this idea, enough to email George a book claiming he wanted to be the person to bring prediction markets to life. And when COVID hit during 2020, he knew it was the perfect time to do exactly that. With the world indoors panicking about not having enough toilet paper, Shane locked in his apartment's bathroom and built a site with prediction markets called Polymarket, a site that would change Shane's life forever. The concept of Polymarket was simple. Someone looking to make money on an outcome they believe would happen in the real world would visit the site and find that question's market. How many times do you think Elon Musk will tweet next week? Will a dildo be thrown on the court during the next WNBA game? Do you think Taylor Swift will get engaged? It didn't matter. All the person had to do was bet yes or no to the question. The difference between something like a sportsbook and this, however, was that the odds weren't being set by the website. They were being set by the people depending on the betting zillion volumes of picking yes or no. If more picked yes, the more money you can make on betting no, and vice versa. All of these bets took place on the blockchain, so people looking to put their money where their mouth was had to use crypto to gamble on Polymarket. But first things first, Shane needed to get money to run Polymarket, and the way he did so was insanely impressive, relentless, and borderline arrogant. Anytime he would get in contact with people in the industry or a potential investor, he would never see them as enemies, but rather as buddies. Whether they were at a party, getting dinner, or wherever, Shane had a knack for always fitting in with whoever he was talking to, almost like it was a game for him. He never took anything personally and impressed these people with his utmost confidence he had built from working at Genius. Now, sometimes he would take it to ridiculous levels, like one time when he tried to rizz up a waitress a decade older than him and introducing Orlando Bloom as a potential investor in a meeting when he had no interest in doing so. But regardless, the message was clear for the investors that he hung out with. He wasn't intimidated by anyone or anything, and it worked out for him big time. Despite dozens of other prediction market startups failing in the past, Shane raised a hefty $4 million from various investors. Plenty enough money to hire a dozen employees and have strong initial growth for Polymarket's user base. But while he was enduring this frantic period of raising money and growing his business, he forgot about one pretty important aspect of his industry: the law. You see, Shane didn't consult with any lawyers before creating the site, so he didn't have a clue as to how legal or illegal Polymarket was. Instead, he took sort of a beg for forgiveness approach to growing it, constantly dodging questions about legality from investors and just praying nothing happened. Well, something did happen, and it threw a massive wrench in Shane's plans. In the midst of Polymarket's rapid growth and increased betting activity, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or the CFTC, took notice. You see, prediction markets under US law are technically event contracts regulated by this governing body, so any company wanting to offer these services in the US had to apply for approval through them. Of course, that never crossed Shane's mind, so after investigations took place in the second half of 2021, the CFTC slammed him. They fined Polymarket $1.4 million, which was a pretty large chunk of what they raised. But even worse, as a part of Shane's deal, he had to ban US citizens from using his website. He was forced to put on a geo-block and, at least on paper, move his company to Panama. This was a huge blow to Polymarket. Not only because they lost a large chunk of their users overnight, but also because Shane knew their competitors who were officially licensed, like Kalshi, would cash in big time from people switching from Polymarket to them. Well, at least that's what he thought would happen. It turned out using Polymarket in the US was still very much possible thanks to the beautiful technology of VPNs. Despite the website having multiple safeguards preventing them, thousands of degenerates could easily set their location to really any other country and continue to bet on what words Mr. Beast will say in his next video like nothing happened. Now, this was great for the people slinging bets, but it was extremely dangerous for Shane. If the CFTC caught just one person using a VPN on their site, Shane would be cooked. And when one big event took place in 2024, it was almost impossible not to catch anyone betting on Polymarket, because everyone was doing it. While Joe Biden and Donald Trump were duking it out to become president, Polymarket really started to prove its worth. What do I mean by that? Well, it correctly predicted Joe would drop out. It nailed Trump winning the swing states, popular vote, and election way before polls came out, and even who'd he pick as his VP. These feats were super impressive considering so many people in the mainstream were saying otherwise, and it got people talking. What if Shane's creation could be a legit predictor of the world? What if it could do a better job at predicting events than traditional news people? It started to change people's minds, and the hype around Polymarket exploded as a result. After the election, the betting platform became the most downloaded free news app from Apple. Big names like Elon Musk and Donald Trump started to use it. Wall Street big boys like Apollo and Goldman Sachs started to factor in Polymarket's odds into their analysis. Industry titans and investors were in awe at the rapid growth, some even predicting Shane's platform would be worth $10 billion in just 2 years. A safe bet to make, considering that after the election, Polymarket neared a $1 billion valuation and owned roughly 90% of all prediction market activity, murdering any doubts of its success and its competition too. This was everything Shane dreamed of ever since he was that nervous 16-year-old boy trading toy skateboards. He was finally being talked about in the same sentence as his heroes, and all signs pointed to Polymarket not slowing down for anything. Well, maybe just one tiny hiccup. At 6 a.m. on a brisk morning in the winter of 2024, 8 FBI agents dressed down in black windbreakers busted through the door of Shane's Soho apartment with a battering ram, surprising him and his girlfriend in bed. And no, they weren't doing it, get your mind out of the gutter. But without explanation, the agents swiftly took Shane and his girlfriend's phones, not even letting them unlock them, and spent hours sifting through his belongings looking for evidence. Evidence for what, you may ask? Well, the US Department of Justice was investigating if Polymarket allowed US-based gamblers to make bets on their website. And as a part of the case, they wanted to prove that Shane knowingly allowed Americans to use VPNs to access his site by looking at his phone records. Now, admittedly, it was very easy to access Polymarket if you were in the US, but if the DOJ could prove Shane knew they were doing so, it would be game over for him and his dreams. However, he really didn't seem too worried about it. Despite being traumatized just hours earlier, Shane bought a new phone after the raid and tweeted, "New phone, who dis?" and later called out the Biden administration for planning the whole thing. He alleged because Polymarket predicted Trump would win despite numerous polls saying otherwise, that this raid was meant to scare him for being a political opponent of sorts. He made it clear that they were deeply committed to being nonpartisan and that he was guilt-free, a statement that 8 months later was proven true. On July 15th, 2025, the DOJ and CFTC formally ended their investigations into Shane and Polymarket, clearing him of any wrongdoing. Shane took to X to announce the good news. 8 months ago, on election night, we were on top of the world after Polymarket called the election. 8 days later, the FBI broke down my door at 6 a.m. and took all of my computers and phones, looking for anything that could imply foul play. While traumatic, it etched the story of Polymarket's accuracy and the ensuing resistance into the history of American politics. And today, I'm happy to announce that this chapter of the story is over. After cooperating and engaging, we've been cleared of any wrongdoing. Justice prevailed. But this wasn't the last piece of good news to cross Shane's desk. Less than a week later, on July 21st, Shane announced that Polymarket had acquired a QCEX, a derivatives exchange and clearinghouse, for $112 million. Now, this wasn't just a business move to grow their company. It was a golden ticket to allow them back into the US. Because QCEX was a CFTC licensed company, Polymarket passed the legal requirements to operate in the States. Now, all that Shane has left to figure out is how they'll make money, because apparently that hasn't happened yet. Again, thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to play it for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile now by using my links in the description or pinned comment. New and returning players that haven't played in 6 months will receive a massive bonus pack across PC and consoles, including multiple premium vehicles and other goodies. It's available for a limited time, so don't miss it. Also, this video was largely based on the great biography written by Jen Wiesner. The link to it is in the description. You also don't want to miss this video about Jonah Reknitz, a man who scammed countless A-list celebrities and got away with it.